Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone. So macam biasa, mula-mula kita kena check dulu. Check mic, check screen. Is everything okay? Semua okay dah ke? Suara okay, screen pun nampak. Ada apa-apa masalah tak? Kecuali mengantuk lah, yang tu tak boleh nak tolong. Tapi kalau kata ada masalah macam suara ke screen ke, boleh lah. Kita adjust sikit. Okay ni, boleh dengar ni. Cik tak ada orang respon je. Dengar ke? Tak dengar. Cuak pula aku. Mic. Betul lah mic. Dengar. Nasib baik awak kata dengar. Hampir-hampir saya nak tukar mic dah. Okay. Right. So now, this is the last lecture for chapter 2. So basically, we are going to finish absolute value today. And then on this coming Wednesday, we are going to start with a new chapter, chapter 3. Okay, so now let us start straight away then so that we can finish early. Okay, so we have 3 subtopics. We have already finished equation. We have already finished inequalities. So now absolute value, we just need to finish a few more absolute value inequalities. Okay, so the learning outcome for today, you should be able to solve absolute value inequalities of the form. Okay, so we either have absolute value of ax plus b less than absolute value of cx plus d. So this is when you have modulus on left hand side and right hand side. So two modulus, one left, one right. And then the third one, if you have a fraction, so absolute value of ax plus b over cx plus d less than a constant called e. And then the fourth one is absolute value of ax squared plus bx plus c less than d. So we only have one absolute value, and the thing inside the absolute value is a quadratic. Okay, so basically we can also apply this to inequality involving other inequality as well. So for example, less than or equal, greater than or equal. So tak semestinya kita akan buat yang less than sajalah. Mungkin ada yang greater than equal. Okay, so now let us do a bit of recap on what we have learned yesterday. So I told you yesterday that we have two methods to solve absolute value. You can either use the basic definition or you can use squaring both sides. But what did I told you yesterday is that for squaring both sides, I normally use them when I have two absolute value. So one left, one right hand side. So for example, these two over here, one absolute value on the left, another absolute value on the right hand side. So that is basically when I use squaring both sides. So basic definition will be used whenever I only have one absolute value. Okay, next. For basic definition, there are a few things that you should know. You should know how to open when absolute value of x less than a, absolute value of x less than or equal to a. So for this one, you need to put more emphasis on the word and over here. So it actually comes from in between negative a and a. So when we split them into two inequalities, we need to write down the word and. And then if we have absolute value of x greater than a, you should put more emphasis over here with the word or. So we got to have two different regions. And then since they are separate region, one on the left, one on the right hand side, we should use or. Okay, so that is just a brief recap. You should memorize this. Macam mana nak ingat? Kena hafal lah. Tak tahu lah macam mana nak hafal tapi kena hafal. If you don't want to memorize them, you should remember the definition of absolute value. That will help a lot. Okay, so now absolute value of x minus 3 greater than or equal to absolute value of 2x plus 5. As you can see, how many absolute value is this? So we got one absolute value on the left, one absolute value on the right. Therefore, this is the case when we have two absolute value, one left, one right hand side. Therefore, the method to solve this kind of problem is by squaring both sides. So now we are going to square both sides. Okay, so squaring both sides. So you are going to get x minus 3 square greater than or equal to 2x plus 5 square. And then of course you should expand them very, very, very carefully. So this is like a minus b square. So if we expand them, we are supposed to get three terms, which is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So pastikan yang ini dia tak sama dengan a square tolak b square. So jangan tiba-tiba apply satu-satu kat kuasa lah. Kita mesti kena expand dia. Okay, so use a square minus 2ab plus with b square. So on the left hand side, that will give you x square minus with 6x plus with 9 greater than or equal to 4x square plus 20x plus with 25. And then of course, you should let one side of it to become 0. So for me, I choose to let this side become 0. So I bring everything to the right hand side. So it will become 4x square minus with x square, which is 3x square, 20x plus 6x, so 26x, and then 25 minus with 9, which is 16. So I have 3x square plus 26x plus with 16, and this is actually less than or equal to 0. But it doesn't look very nice if I have x on the right hand side. So now I'm going to flip them first. So this is 3x squared plus 26x plus 16 less than or equal to 0. Okay, so now you might want to think a little bit. What kind of inequality is this? So we have three types of inequality, right? So we have either a quadratic, a linear, or a rational function. So basically, this is not a linear function because the highest power is x squared. So this is a quadratic. Okay, so quadratic. How are you going to solve a quadratic inequalities? You need to do the graphical method. So yang ni kena rujuk balik lah dekat lecture 2. How to solve inequality when it is involve a quadratic function. So the method is a graphical method. So the graphical method, you need to factorize them first. So it will become 3x plus 2, x plus 8 less than or equal to 0. Okay, so if you check the power of A, the coefficient of x square, the coefficient of x square is 3. So 3 is a positive number. So bila kita lukis, kita akan dapat graph yang smile. Okay, so now let us sketch the graph for this one. So we got 3x plus 2, x plus 8 less than or equal to 0. Sama kan? Okay, sama. Okay, so now let us sketch the graph. So in order to sketch the graph, you need to let each factor to become 0 first. So 3x plus 2 equal to 0. X will be negative 2 over 3. And then x plus 8 equal to 0. X will be equal to negative 8. So I'm going to draw a graph cutting at 2 points. Negative 2 over 3 as well as negative 8. Okay, so a smile graph, the point is negative 8, negative 2 over 3. And then you want them to be less than 0. That means we should shade the region below the x-axis. So that is the reason why I shade this region. This is below the x-axis because you want something that is less than 0. Therefore, the final answer will be x in between and including negative 8 and negative 2 over 3. Or in interval, it should be negative 8, negative 2 over 3. Okay, so why do we have some equal sign over here? That is because this one is less than or equal to 0. So when you draw your graph, this one over here should be a shaded circle. This one over here should also be a shaded circle. That is just to remind ourselves that this one should be an equal sign and these two should be a square bracket. Okay, next. solve absolute value of x minus 2 less than absolute value of 2x plus 3. Okay, so now, firstly, as usual, we should check first how many absolute value do we have. So one absolute value on the left, another absolute value on the right hand side. Therefore, this is the cases when we have two absolute values. So if we have two absolute values, we should do square both sides. Okay, so square both sides, you will have x minus 2 square less than 2x plus 3 square. And then expand them very carefully. And then you should see what kind of inequality is this. Try to solve them. Okay, so now I'll give you around 3 minutes for you to try this question. Saya bagi masa 3 minit lah untuk cuba. Method dia lebih kurang sama macam example 1. So kalau example 1 tadi faham, sepatutnya example 2 tak ada masalah. So saya bagi 3 minit untuk cubalah. Sebab kalau tak cuba nanti dia tak tahu dekat mana dia punya salah tu kan. Okay, cuba dulu. Sampai 2.14 lah. 2.13 dekat sangat. 2.14. Oh, handphone kat belakang. Oh, by the way, nanti isi attendance yang saya bagi dekat channel tu. Nanti isi tau. Attendance tu untuk minggu ni. So nanti by pukul 3.30 macam tu saya tutup lah. Paling lambat 3.30 saya akan tutup dah attendance tu. Tak apalah, jawab dulu yang ni, follow dulu kuliah. Nanti lepas habis kuliah ni isilah. Sebelum pukul 3.30. 3.30 saya akan tutup dah. Sebab saya nak kira siapa hadir, siapa tak hadir. Cuba. Tengok expand boleh ke tak? Dalam tu saya bagilah formula untuk expand. A minus B square. Kalau dah dapat jawapan, bagi tahu Okay, 1 minit lagi. Try. Tengok sampai mana dah. Hah? Abang Aziz jatuh boot. Siapa pula Abang Aziz ni? Oh, done. Okay. Mari kita check. Sama tak jawapan tu. Okay, so expand Right, so how to expand x minus 2 square? So expand them. You will have x square minus 4x plus with 4. And then on the right hand side, it will become 4x square plus 12x and then plus with 9. Oops, salah screen. Okay, and then of course bring everything to the right hand side. So 3x squared plus with 16x plus 5. And then I flip again to the left. So 3x squared plus 16x plus with 5 greater than 0. And then as you can see, the highest power for x is actually x squared. So this is the case for a quadratic. So for the quadratic, we need to factorize completely. Okay, so now again, we got to use the graphical method. So take each factor and then you let them equal to 0 because we want to know where does the graph cuts. Okay, so it should cut at -5, -1/3. And by the way, this one should be an empty circle at -5. So nampak circle kat sini. Empty circle at -5, empty circle at -1/3. Because you don't have the equal sign over here. Okay, and then we want them to be greater than 0. So greater than 0, that mean on the top of the axis. So the solution set is for x less than -5. So I miss out -5, sorry for that. So x less than -5 or x greater than -1/3. Or in solution interval, it will be -infinity up until -5, -1/3 up until positive infinity. So satu solution set, satu lagi solution interval lah saya bagi. Dua-dua tertinggal negatif. Okay, done. Okay, so jawapan dah sama lah dengan Kobe tu. Okay dah tu. Nampak macam gaya. Nampak macam dah okay dah sikit. Inequalities and absolute value. Okay, next. Solve the inequalities 1/x-2 less than 3. Absolute value of 1/x-2 less than 3. Okay, so we do see the absolute value sign. So we need to open the absolute value sign by using the basic definition first. Okay, so the basic definition, this is 0. The distance should be 3. This is -3. Okay, so I want them to be less than 3. So this is 0 until 3. Less than is somewhere over here. Less than is somewhere over here as well. Therefore, 1/x-3 will be in between -3 and 3. 1/x-2 will be in between -3 and 3. Okay, so kita buka in between. Okay, so now we got something in between. So now we can split them, or we can separate them into two inequalities. So we got -3 less than 1/x-2, and at the same time 1/x-2 less than 3. But I don't really like having x on my right hand side. Therefore, I'm going to flip this one to the left. So saya pindahkan dia pergi sebelah kiri Okay, so 1/x-2 greater than -3 and 1/x-2 less than 3. Okay, so start from here. In your book or in your note, what do you need to do is that you should draw a line. So buat line kat tengah-tengah ni, bahagikan. So this is my left hand side. This is my right hand side. So separate them into two. Okay, so what we are going to do now is that we are going to solve the left hand side. So I'm going to solve the left hand side until I know what is the answer on my left hand side. And then after that, I'm going to proceed with the right hand side. And then I'm going to solve them until I get what is the answer on my right hand side. After that, we are going to combine these two answers by using intersection. Okay, so that is the main idea, of course. Okay, so now let us try to solve the left hand side. Okay, so we got 1/x-2 greater than -3. So this is a rational inequalities. So the way we solve them is that I need to make sure that the right hand side is 0. So I should bring -3 to the left hand side. So it will become 1/x-2 plus 3 greater than 0. And then we are going to have a common denominator. So yang ni 3/1 kan. So kita change bagi ada common denominator. So 1 plus 3 times with x-2/x-2 greater than 0. Simplify them. So this is 1 plus with 3x and then 3 times -2, so -6. You simplify them. So this is 3x minus 5 over x minus 2 greater than 0. Okay, so this is a rational inequalities. So the way we solve them, you should either do table of sign or the real number line. So if you know me well, you know that I will do table of sign. No, real number line. I don't like table of sign. Real number line. Next. Okay, so in order to do real number line, we are going to let our numerator 3x minus 5 to be greater than 0. So x will be greater than 5 over 3. And then our denominator, we have x minus 2 greater than 0, x will be greater than 2. So I already have my numerator and my denominator to be more than 0. So now I can draw my number line. Okay, so when you draw your number line, please be extra careful. You need to make sure who will stay on the left hand side and who will stay on the right hand side. I forgot to change this one. Okay, jap. This is 5 over 3. This is 2. Haha. Saya lupa nak tukar. Okay. Right, so now on the top of the line, you should put positive. Other than that, you should put negative and then make sure to have the conclusion positive, negative, positive. And then since we want our answer to be greater than 0, so that means it should be a positive region. So your positive region will be negative infinity up until 5 over 3 and then 2 up until infinity. Tadi dah tukar dah. Macam ni tak tukar kat sini. Tak nampak. Okay, never mind. So negative infinity until 5 over 3 union with 2 up until infinity. Okay, so this is the left hand side. So I'm done with the left hand side. So now we are going to proceed with the right hand side. So yang ni yang sebelah kiri lah, dah ada jawapan dah yang sebelah kiri. So kita nak buat yang sebelah kanan pula bagi dapat jawapan. Okay. Now, yang ni yang sebelah kanan Yang sebelah kiri tadi kita dah kira dah. So now fokus sebelah kanan. Okay, so we got 1 over x minus 2 less than 3. So as usual, I'm going to bring 3 to the left hand side. So 1 over x minus 2 minus 3 less than 0. And then we are going to have a common denominator. So 1 minus 3 multiply with x minus 2 over x minus 2 less than 0. So this is 1 minus 3x and then plus with 6. So negative 3x plus 7. So negative 3x plus 7 over x minus 2 less than 0. Okay, so now this is rational inequalities. Again, we are going to do another real number line for them. Oh, saya tukar yang ini. Slide yang tadi saya tak tukar. Saya tukar yang ini. Okay, tak apa. Fokus balik. Right, so now take our numerator to be greater than 0. So negative 3x plus 7 greater than 0. So x will be less than 7 over 3. So don't forget that you have to flip the inequality sign because you are dividing with negative 3. So saya tukar inequality sign sebab saya bahagi dengan negative 3. And then x minus 2 greater than 0, x will be greater than 2. Again, we got 2 value over here. Let us draw the number line. So 2, 7 over 3, and then 7 over 3 to the left, 2 to the right hand side. And then since I'm assuming them to be greater than 0, so that means on top of my line, everything should be positive. Those without the line should be negative. And then of course we need to make the conclusion afterwards. So nanti darab lah simbol plus dengan minus tu. Okay, so negative, positive, negative. Okay, and then do check what is the last inequality that you have before your before you assume tu. So the last inequality, we have something that is less than 0. So that means we are looking for some negative value. So the negative value will be over here as well as over here. So negative infinity up until 2 union with 7 over 3 up until infinity. Okay, so mostly done. Not yet finished. Tak habis lagi lah. sikit lagi. But mostly that is what we are going to do. So we are going to open the absolute value sign into two inequality and then solve each of the inequality until we get the answer for each of them. So solve sebelah kiri mesti kena ada jawapan, solve sebelah kanan mesti kena ada jawapan. And then what are we going to do with these two answer? If you refer to the first inequality that you do, you write down the word and, right? So and means that we are going to find the intersection between these two answers. So this is the answer on the left. This is the answer on the right. So now we are going to combine them and find the intersection. Okay, so 5 over 3 to 7 over 3. So now the answer on the left hand side. So this is 5 over 3 until negative infinity, 2 up until positive infinity. The other one, I have 2 up until negative infinity, 7 over 3 up until positive infinity. Okay, so do make sure to use only two layers. So the first layer is for the left hand side, the second layer is for the right hand side. So kalau ikut yang ni nanti awak mungkin akan buat sampai 4 line yang aras yang berbeza. Tak boleh Dia kalau kata dia answer sebelah kiri, if you have two interval, they must be in the same line. Dia mesti dalam satu level yang sama saja. Tak boleh suka-suka pakai banyak level lah. One level for left, one level for right. Dua layer, one left, one right. So this is for the left hand side. This is for the right hand side. So now we are going to find the intersection. Ni baru senang nak tengok intersection. Okay, intersection. Okay, so where does it overlap? So it does overlap from negative infinity up until 5 over 3. And then another interval is 7 over 3 up until infinity. So they do overlap at two different regions, one left, one right hand side. Okay, so now let us try to do another one. Okay, so 10. Solve absolute value of 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 greater than 1. Okay, so now, as usual, you should open the absolute value sign. So we are going to use the basic definition. So this is 0, 1, negative 1. We want the distance to be more than 1. So it should be on the right hand side of 1 or on the left hand side of 1. Okay, so now we should open the absolute value sign into two inequality. Okay, so we can have 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 less than negative 1. So that is the region on the left hand side. Or we can have another region on the right hand side where we have 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 greater than 1. And again, separate them into two. I'm going to solve the left hand side first until I get the answer. And then afterward, I'm going to solve the right hand side until I get the answer. So kita start daripada sebelah kiri dulu lah. Lepas tu baru saya solve yang sebelah kanan. Okay, so remember this. You must write down the word or. That will totally help you. Either in order to do union or intersection at the end. Okay, so now let us focus on the left hand side. So this is 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 less than negative 1. So this is a rational inequalities. So we got to solve using rational inequalities. So bring negative 1 to the right hand side, it will become plus 1. So 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 plus 1 less than 0. And then of course we are going to have a common denominator. So kita akan samakan pun bawah. We are going to get 10 minus 2x plus 1 multiply with 3x plus 1 over 3x plus 1 less than 0. So this is 10 minus 2x plus 3x and then plus with 1. And then you simplify them a little bit. So negative 2x plus with 3. So this is x. And then 10 plus with 1. So that is 11. So we got x plus with 11 over 3x plus 1 less than 0. So this is the simplest form, but we haven't have our answer yet. We don't have our answer. Ni bukan answer lagi. Answer dia mesti dalam solution set ataupun solution interval. Okay, so this is not the answer yet. This is just the simplest form of a rational inequalities. So now I'm going to start with the method to solve rational inequalities, which mean you can either use table of sign or you can use real number line. Okay, so now again, I'm going to use real number line. So I'm going to let my numerator to be greater than 0. So x plus 11 greater than 0. X will be greater than negative 11. And then take your denominator. 3x plus 1 greater than 0. X will be greater than negative 1 over 3. And then make sure to draw your number line. Be extra careful because you need to make sure what numbers stay on the left and what numbers stay on the right hand side. So yang ni kena hati-hati lah. Biasanya kalau nombor yang negatif memang senang sikit nak salah lah. So extra careful over here. Okay, so now let us draw the line then. So x greater than negative 11 going to the right then. And then another one also going to the right hand side. And then since I'm assuming them to be greater than 0, therefore I should write down positive on top of the line. So positive. Those without the line will be negative. And then we are going to calculate the conclusion. So negative, negative, the final answer will be positive. Negative, positive is negative. Positive, positive is positive. So positive, negative, positive. And then referring to the last inequality before you start your assuming step or let step, up here, this is less than 0. That means I'm looking for a negative answer. So negative answer is this one over here. Negative 11 up until negative 1 over 3. So this is the final answer for the left. For the left hand side. So this is the final answer for the left. Okay, so done with that. Let us proceed with the right hand side now. We are going to solve the right hand side. Ini sebelah kiri make sure dia sampai bawah dah, sampai answer dah. Okay, so now the right hand side. So I have 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 greater than 1. So now I should bring 1 to the left hand side. So I should deduct 1. So this is 10 minus 2x over 3x plus 1 minus 1 greater than 0. And then of course we need to change it into a common denominator. So I'm going to do 10 minus 2x minus 1 multiply with 3x plus 1 over 3x plus 1. Okay, and then you're going to simplify them. Negative 1 times 3x, so negative 3x, negative 1, negative 1. Okay, so we are going to get negative 5x plus 9 over 3x plus 1 greater than 0. So negative 5x plus 9 over 3x plus 1 greater than 0. So this is the simplest form for the rational inequalities. Okay, so next. You can either do table of sign or real number line, up to you. Kalau rasa macam tadi dah pakai real number line, yang ni tiba-tiba nak pakai table of sign ke, aku suka lah, boleh juga. Tapi saya suka konsisten je. Okay, so now I'm going to take my numerator. So negative 5x plus 9 greater than 0. So if we are making x as the subject, x will be less than 9 over 5. Again, I should remind you, this one, we should flip the sign because we are dividing with negative 5. Okay, so bring 9 to the right, it will become negative 9. You divide with negative 5, so that is how it become 9 over 5. Okay, and then take your denominator, let them to be greater than 0 as well. So x will be greater than negative 1 over 3. And then draw your number line. Be extra careful who's on the left and who's on the right hand side. And then another one that you need to be careful with is that this sign is less than 9 over 3. So it means it go to the left. This one over here is greater than. So going to the right hand side. So ada dua nak panah lah. Satu kiri, satu kanan ni. Okay, so now if you refer to the assumed part, I always assume them to be greater than 0. Therefore, on top of my line, I should write down positive. Those without the line, it will automatically become negative. So atas line kita letak positif, yang tak ada line kena jadi negatif. And then our conclusion, positive, negative, negative, positive, 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 negative, positive, negative. So negative, positive, negative. So in order to get the final answer for this is the assumed part. The inequality before that is greater than 0. So that means I'm looking for some positive answer. So positive answer is somewhere in between. So that means the final answer for this is negative 1 over 3 until 9 over 5. Okay, so finally done with the left hand side, done with the right hand side. The last one. This is the final conclusion where you have to combine your answer. So take the answer over here, take the final answer on the left and right hand side, and then write them down again. But this time we're gonna see, are we going to use and or? Okay, so now we got to use or. Kenapa or? Sebab tadi masa kita buka kita dapat dua region yang berbeza kan. So or means that we have to do union. Okay, so draw a number line. I have to unite them together. So one number line on the left, one number line for the right hand side. So now union, find the union for these two. So union, everything below the line. Therefore, the final answer for this is negative 11 up until negative 1 over 3 union with negative 1 over 3 up until 9 over 5. Or if you want to write down them in the set notation, it will be x such that x in between negative 11 and 9 over 5. However, x cannot be equal to negative 1 over 3. Oh, mungkin ada yang tanya kan, kenapa kita tak ambil negative 1 over 3? Union tu maksudnya salah satu mesti kena terima nombor tu. So kalau ikut, yang ini yang sebelah left kan, yang ini yang sebelah right. Okay, left. Left kata dia reject negative 1 over 3 sebab dia pakai empty circle. The same thing with the right hand side. It reject the answer of negative 1 over 3 as well. So since both of them reject the same value, so you cannot choose to have negative 1 over 3. So tak boleh pilih lah sebab dua-dua reject nombor yang sama. Kalau salah satu terima kita okey lagi. Kalau salah satu tu ada dance, maksudnya sebab dia atau kan, sama ada A guna atau B guna. Yang ni A tak nak, B pun tak nak. So tak boleh lah nak guna dua-dua. Okay, next. Solve. Absolute value of x plus 2 over x minus 3 greater than or equal to 3. I'm sure for now, you have done quite a lot of question. I'm sure you can try to do this. So saya bagi tempoh dalam 4 minit, cuba dulu. Tengok sampai mana awak buat. 4 minit cukup ke? 5 lah, saya bagi lama sikit sampai final answer. Try to answer this question. And then we are going to discuss later on. Let's see whether do you get the method correct or not. Dia yang penting kena dapat method dulu. Salah calculate, yang tu tak apa. Dia boleh adjust bila dah lama-lama try. Calculation akan betul. Tapi method kena betul dulu. Masuk angin ni, tak makan lagi. So sampai 2:40 44 lah, kasih diskaun until 2:44. Cuba buat dulu. Dari tadi saya confused dengan Ariana Musa ni. Kenapa dia kata Abang Aziz jatuh put lah? Aku macam tak boleh nak move on lagi. Kenapa dia kata macam tu? Gaya dia tulis tu macam berita apa? Berita TV apa? TV3 dulu. Dia yang jatuh put tu. So tak tahu ni serius ke main-main ke apa ke. Kan? Aisyah TV3 kan berita. Tak tahulah dia nak gurau kot. Layankan je lah. Cepat-cepat nak habiskan lepas tu pergi makan. Satu minit lagi. Okay, dah. Siap. Oh, ada yang dah dapat dah. Okay, tak apa. Tengok lah nanti. Betul ke tak? Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to open the absolute value sign first. So we are going to open this. So 0, 3, -3, greater than or equal to 3. Greater than 3 means on the right hand side, left hand side. So we got two different region for them. The first one is x plus 3 over x minus 3 less than or equal to -3. Or another one is x plus 3 over x minus 3 greater than or equal to 3. So we have two different region, one on the left, one on the right hand side. So let me solve the left hand side first, and then we are going to solve the right hand side later on. Okay, so now left hand side. So we got x plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to -3. So I'm going to bring -3 to the left hand side. So it will become x plus 2 over x minus 3 plus 3 less than or equal to 0. And then change it to a common denominator. So we are going to get x plus 2 plus 3 multiply with x minus 3 over x minus 3. So this is x plus 2 plus 3x minus 9. So you simplify them, x plus with 3x, it will become 4x. 2 minus with 9, it will become negative 7. So we got 4x minus 7 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So this is the simplest form. And this is a rational inequalities. Therefore, I'm going to use the real number line. Okay, so now take the numerator to be greater than or equal to 0. So for our numerator over here, we have the equal sign because in our question, we actually have an equal sign over here. Okay, so x as the subject, x will be greater than or equal to 7 over 4. And then take your denominator. For denominator, it should always be greater than 0 only. So tak boleh letak equal untuk denominator. Lagi sekali saya ingatkan. For denominator, you cannot put any equal sign. So x will be greater than 3. Okay, so x greater than 7 over 4, x greater than 3, draw a number line for them. And then everything is going to the right hand side. And do remember to use a dense circle at 7 over 4 because over here we have the equal sign. So make sure to use the dense circle. And at 3, make sure to use an empty circle. And then since I'm assuming each of them to be greater than 0, so on top of the line, it should always be positive. Those without the line, it should be negative. And then we should do the conclusion. So negative times negative is positive. Negative positive is negative. Positive positive positive. And then we should check the simplest inequalities or the last inequality before this step. That is less than 0. So I'm looking for a negative answer. So negative answer will be somewhere in between. So this one should be 7 over 4 up until 3. So a closed bracket at 7 over 4 and empty bracket at 3. Okay, so that is the left hand side. So now let us focus on the right hand side. So on the right hand side, you have x plus 2 over x minus 3 greater than or equal to 3. So now this one, bring it to the left hand side. So we got x plus 2 over x minus 3 minus 3 greater than or equal to 0. And then this one, change them into a common denominator. So x plus 2 minus 3 times with x minus 3 over x minus 3 greater than or equal to 0. So we are going to simplify them. So this is x plus 2 minus 3x plus with 9. So this one will become negative 2x positive 11. So negative 2x plus 11 over x minus 3 greater than or equal to 0. And then this is the simplest form for the rational inequalities. So you got to do the real number line from here. Okay, so now again, take the numerator, let them to be greater than or equal to 0. So x will be less than or equal to 11 over 2. So do remember, I flip the sign because I divide with some negative number. And then take your denominator, let them to be greater than 0. So x will be greater than 3. So draw your number line. We will have two kind of arrow. One on the left, one to the right. And then I should remind you one thing, at 11 over 2, it should be a dense circle because we do have the equal sign at 11 over 2. Meanwhile, at 3, that is simply an empty circle. And then since I'm letting them to be greater than 0, on top of the line, they should be positive. Those without the line, it should be negative. And then simply do the conclusion. So positive times negative, negative, positive, 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 negative, positive, negative. And then check the last one before this assuming part. So this is actually something that is greater than 0. I'm looking for some positive answer. So positive answer between 3 until 11 over 2. So 3 until 11 over 2. So that is the answer on the right hand side. So one on the left hand side, one on the right hand side. So now we should combine them together. Okay, so when you open the absolute value sign, you are having something with the word or. Or means that we need to do union. So we need to unite our answer. So one on the left, one on the right hand side. So find the union for them. So it will be starting from here up until here. So if we do the solution interval, it will be same answer, which is 7 over 4 up until 3 union with 3 up until 11 over 2. But you do have the equal sign at 7 over 4 and 11 over 2. So kena pakai square bracket lah. Or if you want to use the set notation, x such that 7 over 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 11 over 2, but then x cannot be equal to 3. So itu adalah set notation. Set notation, solution interval. Okay, one more and then we are good. We finish absolute value. One more to go. Okay, the last example, solve absolute value of x squared minus 5x plus 3 less than or equal to 3. Okay, so now again, we are going to open the absolute value by using the basic definition. So 0, 3, negative 3. The distance will be less than 3, so somewhere in between then. So x squared minus 5x plus 3 will be in between negative 3 as well as 3. So now we are going to separate into two different inequality. But then right in the middle, you should write down the word and because they must happen at the same time. So they must happen at the same time. Therefore, we need to use the word and. Okay, so now we should solve the left hand side and then we are going to solve the right hand side. Okay, so solving quadratic. We need to use graphical method, right? Okay. So now, negative 3, I'm going to bring it to the left hand side. So it will become x squared minus 5x plus 6 greater than or equal to 0. And then of course, you should factorize them completely. So x, 6, 1, 6x, x, negative, positive. So we will get x minus 6, x. Salah. 3 dengan 2. Oh, salah ni. Sebab nanti dapat negatif Sorry lah, lapar. Tak boleh fikir. Boleh lah cakap macam tu. Okay, 3, 2. Okay, 3x, 2x. Negatif, negatif. Okay. So 3 x minus 3, x minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. Draw the smile shape. Don't forget the number as well, 2, 3, and then you want them to be greater than or equal to 0. So it should be above the x-axis. Above the x-axis. So you will have two answers over here. Negative infinity up until 2, union with 3 up until infinity. So dekat sini kita pakai square bracket sebab dia ada simbol equal dekat situ. So ada simbol equal sebab tu kalau tengok dekat 2 dengan 3 ni pun kita pakai dense circle. Whatever. Okay, so done with the left hand side. So now the right hand side. So I'm going to bring the 3 to the left. So it will become x squared minus 5x less than or equal to 0. Factorize them completely. I do see that I can factorize the x. So factorize out the x. So x minus 5 less than or equal to 0. So this is positive x squared. So again, a smile graph cutting at 0 and 5. And we should take the region that is below the x-axis because this is less than 0. So below the x-axis. So the final answer for this one is in between 0 until 5. Okay, so one answer on the left hand side, another answer on the right hand side. So now we should combine them together. Okay, so when you separate them into two different inequality, we are using the word and. Therefore, I should use the intersection between two answer. Okay, so kita nak buat satu number line lah. Nak cari kawasan intersection sekarang. Okay, so number line 0, 2, 3, 5. So on the left hand side, right hand side, and then we are going to find the intersection. And again, lagi sekali saya ingatkan lah, kita hanya ada dua layer saja, satu left, satu lagi right. So kalau kata dia ada dua answer, macam yang left ni, dia mesti satu level yang sama saja. So the first level for the left, the second level for the right hand side. So that it will be easier for you to see which one does overlap with which one. Macam tu. Okay, so find the intersection. It's supposed to be over here and then over here as well. So we got two different intersection, two different region. So the final answer will be 0 up until 2 union with 3 up until 5. Or if you want to write down, nak tulis ke dalam set notation? Tak payahlah set notation. Tu dah interval lah, cantik dah. Tapi katakanlah nak juga, ambil lah. 0, x, 2 or 3, x, 5. Kenapa kita guna or? Sebab dia dua kawasan yang berbeza. N ni adalah perbuatan kita tau. We are looking for intersection. And then since we find out that we actually have two different interval, therefore you should write down or. It means either left hand side or right hand side. So those are my answer. Okay, so I think that's all for absolute value. So done with absolute value. So I'll see you guys this coming Wednesday where we are going to learn a new chapter, chapter 3, which is sequences and series. So I'll see you guys this coming Wednesday. Don't forget to key in your attendance. By 3:30, I'm gonna close the attendance. Miss, kalau tak letak N masa buat jalan kerja boleh. Tak nak letak N kat sini ah. Dia kalau awal-awal ni tak letak apa tau. Sekejap saya tunjuk. Dekat sini kalau tak nak letak pun tak apa lagi. Kalau tak letak lah. Kalau tak letak tak apa lagi. Tetapi mesti ada step yang ini. Yang dia cari intersection. But I really doubt it that you are going to know what you are going to do if you didn't write them down. Dia macam pelik jugalah kalau kita tak tulis, macam mana kita nak tahu kita nak buat apa kan. I don't know lah, for me lah. I find it very hard for me to understand macam mana you nak buat kalau you tak tulis step tu. Tapi kalau you rasa okay je, terus pulang lah. Okay, that's all. So I'll see you guys this coming Wednesday. Bye-bye everyone. Saya nak pergi makan. Bye-bye.